Yeah. He's cool, man. He loves music. The song that he's on, he had never made a sound. He was only 4 months old at the time. And I bring him into the studio every time I record, and I'll grab the mic and he'd get all excited. And I was recording.
I'm disappointed that I missed the little man.
Yeah, I was recording the intro to the song when all of a sudden he just belted out the first sound he ever made, loud. And I was like, holy cow. I turned, I said, you recording with Dad? You singing with Dad? And he did it through the whole song, so I just kept recording, and then I mixed it into the song, and then I published it. It's on Spotify and all that stuff.
That's
awesome.
Yeah, it's called Dax and Dad, Times Are Changing. He loves it.
By the time he's 5, he's going to be belting out some of them hard rocking screams, Yeah,
most definitely. He's got every instrument there is already.
There's nothing wrong with that. Music is good for everybody.
It is.
Most definitely. Oh, she said she was the one.
So if you weren't doing music right now, what other career or hobby would you have gone for?
Ugh, I don't even know. At a young age, baseball was my thing. I loved baseball. But just a general regular hobby, it'd probably, I don't know, I'd have to say probably police officer or something. Something to do with law enforcement.
Respectable. That's respectable.
Something to do with law enforcement.
That's cool.
All right. We are correcting this. She's going to get yelled at.
See, Kirsten is our PR lady. She's the filter that has no filter. She keeps us in line. So.
Definitely. All right, there you go.
Right on.
Awesome.
Right on. Yeah, you'll actually be our third interview for season 3.
Okay.
It'll be aired on Friday at 8:00.
Awesome.
So.
Yeah, I checked out some of your guys' prior stuff too.
Yeah, we really do try to just we kind of ask the same questions and kind of get to feel what everybody's different outlook is on certain things.
Right.
And then wherever that takes us, it takes us.
Right.
Last night's interview
was amazing.
We talked about all kinds of stuff in last night's.
Yep.
That is incredible.
Cool.
So we talked about
what we told everybody, is that whatever you got to say, whatever your thoughts, your process, how you do things, we're not gonna filter how you feel about things, because there's a lot of censorship already, in the world and in music, and when you get to somebody that's doing big name labels and stuff like that, they censor a lot of crap.
Yeah.
And I've watched it, over the years. I used to bartend. I've known a couple of pretty famous bands, and some of the stuff that they wanted to do, they were like, no, you can't do that. And one band was like, screw it, we're going to do it anyway. And people know who they are. If I said their name, which I'm not going to, but if I said their name, you would know exactly who they were, and you'd probably be like, oh, really? I was there the day they got signed, and it freaked them out, and I was like, look, this is exactly what y'all wanted. Yeah. But, it got to a point where they were being silenced about the things that they wanted to do and they couldn't do, and they were like, screw it, we'll just do it on our own.
Yeah. Right.
So, this is a 2-part question for you. In the very beginning, when you got started, what was some advice you were given? And if you could give, the second part to the question is, if you could give any advice to any newcomer coming into this scene, what kind of advice would you give them? So it's kind of like what you got and then what you would give.
The advice I got was be yourself. Never give up, because there was times where I was like, oh, I can't do this. My fingers would be hurting, or, I'd get frustrated because I didn't know what I was doing. I had no one to teach me. And then a little later, a couple of years after I started, I met this guy. He was an older guy, but now one of the best guitar players I've ever seen in my entire life. He passed away. I have some of his ashes in this necklace right here. It's a guitar necklace. But we used to have talks about life, not just about music. And he told me, just be true to yourself, do what you want, and do what makes you happy. Don't do something that you don't want to do because it makes others happy. If you don't want to do this kind of music, you don't want to do this song, but, these other people want you to do it, don't do it. Right. You're not happy doing it. It's not going to sound good. You're not going to be happy doing it. So.
Right.
It's really good advice.
Yeah.
I think that's part of the reason why those two kind of started this is because, there are numerous. We've probably talked to maybe 100, 75 to close to 75 bands. Right. Just in the last 4 months, we've talked to about 75 bands. I mean, we were doing back to back like interviews.
Yeah, we were doing like 3-4 a day.
It was like we had to hurry up, eat dinner, because they live in North Carolina, I live in South Carolina, and we were like, okay, so I'm trying to get my kids fed, trying to get prepared and listen to music, and I mean, I was listening to 3-4 bands at a time, stalking any kind of pages that they had, writing down information. I've got a whole book.
Right.
She has legitimate books of information.
That's awesome.
Because I also do their dating debacle on Wednesdays.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
a little background on us, so you kind of have a background. About 20 years ago, I started this underground radio station on MySpace, kind of like what we're doing now. But as you know, MySpace died, and there was no replacement for it. Facebook was just beginning, and there wasn't groups or anything like that on Facebook at the time. It literally was your friends, and that was it.
Yeah.
So I let it die, and then just recently we started the podcast, and then while we were doing the podcast, Junior and I, my son, we were watching something on YouTube, and we seen something that was using the same programs
from 20 years ago
that I was using to do a radio station.
Oh.
We got curious and was like, I wonder if those programs are still that much the same.
And
we
watched the videos, and they were.
They were. So we jumped on Twitter and realized that the independent artists on Twitter are bigger than what it was on MySpace. The people are out there. Right. So we just basically traded it off and started it again 20 years later, and here we are.
All right.
And it's been humbling, and it's been a great time.
Yes.
Like Kirsten, she started as a guest
on one of our Wednesdays.
As a guest on we did a dating app debacle basically.
Yeah.
And she came on as a guest talking about experiences of hers and of her friends, and lo and behold, and here she is today.
That's
so, she just fit with our personality, and we have another gentleman. She just fit with all of us. So here we are. Now we're talking to we're talking to bands like you and from all genres. We've talked to all different type of people. So.
From all over the world, which is great.
Yeah, all over the world.
Cool. That's great. Great.
So to the second part of that question is, would you say that just be yourself would be?
If I was to give anything, it would be, just don't. In the industry, there's a lot of politics. We'll say.
Absolutely.
There's a lot of politics. Just don't get involved with them. Just, stay on the path, do what makes you happy, and, never give up.
Right on.
Never give up. That's the one thing. Don't ever give up. I don't care if people say, oh, you're not good, man. You can't. Just do what makes you happy and just practice.
Exactly.
So, when COVID was going on, this is one question that I asked just because, it's very interesting to me, how people, when everybody was on lockdown. And I know in New York, you guys were more on lockdown than what we were. You guys were
it was
bad. But while that was going on, did you like try to figure out a new way to either play another instrument or learn how to record a different way or learn how to use social media to your advantage? What was it that during that time, because we were all stuck in our houses, like trying to figure out like how to not go insane,
Right.
you know, like what did you do to help your musical talent and career?
Well, that's when I found the live streaming. Streaming online, streaming live for people. I'd go Facebook Live or Instagram or all that, TikTok. Back then, I didn't. The only way I recorded, I didn't. It's kind of crazy because all these recordings I do now, I didn't know how to record. I've never attempted it. I never mixed. I never mastered. I never did any of that until I found BandLab, which was 9 months ago. So all this stuff that I put out, 29 releases in the 9 months, but I have a bunch that are waiting release. But back then I would just set up my cell phone camera and just play and sing. I didn't have any knowledge or anything on recording or mixing. So when I found BandLab, I almost gave up on that too. I found it. I mistakenly hit a button one day and it popped up and I was like, what is this thing? So I checked it out and, I had this studio thing. So I went in there and there's just so many things you can do. And I was like, I don't know how to do any of this. So, so I did this. What I did was you can import music. So I was importing songs from videos and it sounded horrible. I'm like, oh, this guy's music sounds great. I'm getting two plays in a week and this guy's getting 3,000 in a day. So, and then I asked somebody one day, his name's Loneheart on there and he's phenomenal. And he kind of ran me through it a little bit. He was in Iowa, so we were doing it online. And then he actually asked me, he said, have you ever done hip hop? I said, no, not at all. He says, I'd like to get you on a song and try it out, if you want to try it out. And this guy's got like 30 million plays, He's,
okay.
So he actually, he got me on a song, and then, we went through the mixing and the mastering and stuff, and from there I lived on my phone and laptop for a while. And
yeah.
The old lady thought I was cheating and stuff, but we got that straightened out.
Well, that's good. That's good. It's always good. You gotta have that good foundation at home for anything to work. So,
but yeah, it was the live streaming and learning new instruments. That was my thing. You're crazy if you didn't take that time to improve your craft. I've seen musicians that I know that were, I'm so bored. I'm bored. I'm like, how are you bored? Like, this is
practice.
You should be, full speed. Like,
yeah, we've gotten a lot of people that went back, got on like online schooling and went and learned how to remaster their songs. And like, we've gotten a variety of answers to that question. That's why she asked that question all the time, because it's very interesting to know, did you just sit home and do nothing?
Right,
or,
yeah. Like,
I wish I would have thought of podcasts back during that lockdown.
Yeah.
They were huge.
They were huge.
They were huge then, too. And I wish I would have started it then. But
yeah.
but hindsight is 2020. So here we are. You little bit mentioned the politics of the music industry. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to ask you a question that I ask everybody, and your answer is probably going to be something that you nor I can change because we just don't have the power. Mm-hmm. What is the one thing you would change about the music industry as we know it today?
I would have to say the willingness to find new artists. It's a little touchy, but I hear people say it's impossible. You're not getting signed. I don't care if you send demos to 8 million record companies. They don't listen to demos. They don't read the emails. There's not yet, in these shows like The Voice and all that stuff that, they're all staged and, but to me, it's not being at the right place at the right time. It's getting your music out there, being relentless. I'll say, being relentless. And, even if you're turned down 1 million times, keep going. That's,
Right.
Well, that's one of the reasons why I think, Chappy and Jr.